Hi, everyone. Good morning and welcome to your week. It's going to be another busy one. I apologize for not being able to bring you a live look at this. Our technology isn't quite ready to start the week, I don't think. But Jeff Eckhoff is, I am. Jeff is the city's Director of Planning and Development Services and one of the leaders in what's now being called the SOAR program, which is the one that is helping businesses attempt to both implement best practices to reduce the spread of COVID-19 and get them back to business in something approaching a normal type of situation. So, Jeff, did I actually describe what SOAR is doing? Do you want to elaborate maybe first a little bit on that so people can better understand it?
Sure. Thanks, Jody, and thanks for having me on. SOAR stands for Supporting Operations and Resiliency. And as you mentioned, it's in this new environment. We're working with businesses, trying to get them, helping them to be open in a safe way and helping them to be open in a way that they can operate and get some of their customers back. And so we're doing a lot of technical assistance. We're providing some resources online for them, trying to connect them as best we can with other resources and help navigate kind of the rules, the federal, the state, and the local rules and guidances that are out there.
It's been a couple weeks now. I want to say time tends to blur together, but how would you say it's going so far? What are some of the common scenarios that have come up for you?
So the most common one is we're thinking about reopening. We just want to check, we really got busy last week when the new proposed ordinances came through about reopening that the mayor and the council talked about last Friday at the special meeting. What was really interesting to me, Jody, is so many of the businesses that we had contacted and so many that contacted us after that had been thinking about this for a long time. And you know that from being out there. They understand there's a new normal. They understand there's going to be new rules. They follow the CDC guidance. And so a lot of it was checking in. How do we fit into that? What are other businesses like ours doing? We've been out on site with different businesses, kind of trying to provide that on site. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about barriers there? That type of thing. So real common sense stuff, but really encouraging to see how eager they are and how they want to comply.
And of course, I feel like it's a whole different world once people actually start getting inside and using some of these things. So you might have the setup done, so to speak, as a business, but the work's not done, right? You have to continue to be monitoring this and adjusting this as real people start to come in.
Right. Isn't that the truth? I mean, best laid plans, and then people come in and start doing what they do. And so they'll be, they're going to have to require some diligence as far as making sure people don't move tables and make sure people don't move groups together, because that's how we're used to acting in restaurants, right? It'll be interesting, though. I think people have a whole heightened sense of awareness. It'll be interesting to see as people come back. There'll be some, it's like anything else. There'll be early adopters. They'll be in the door day one. And there'll be some that'll kind of gradually filter back in. And so that's, and the owners are aware of that. They kind of understand that they have a responsibility to their employees and to the public, and they have to kind of earn that trust for people to come back. And so that's what I think been fantastic to see, that motivation and that level of responsibility with most of the owners we've talked to.
Yeah, and best practices, already starting to emerge. Those, I think, so far we're hearing some restaurant owners saying that in order to make sure they're limiting capacity and they don't get backed up, it's going to be reservation only to begin with. It's going to be limited a certain amount of time. Disposable menus, something else I've heard talked about, right? Are there some other, if you're a bar, if you're a restaurant, other sort of emerging best practices that you might want to be considering this week?
Right. So those are ones that we've heard that are creative. Those with maybe salad bars or buffet, they're going to talk about maybe cafeteria style, where you tell the wait staff what you want and they go get it and bring it back to you. Closing down, if they have fountain pop, closing that down, that'll be a wait staff will come and get it and refill it for you. Very much of the disposable types of things. A lot of conversation, particularly in bars. Can I walk up to the bar and get and order my own drink, or how's that going to work? And that's going to be site by site. If there's room for them to go up there and properly distance and they can make those logistics work, certainly they can do that. But if they can't, and it's in an area that doesn't physically allow it, then they're going to have to figure out something else.
Are you guys giving any guidance as far as the staff goes? Whether it's temperature checks, wearing face coverings, use of gloves, anything like that you're suggesting that restaurants and bars consider doing?
That's pretty common, I think, in all of our guidance, that we would ask businesses to do those types of checks You're exactly right. Temperature checks, or at least, the different questions. How are you feeling today? Have you been sick? Anybody in your home? All those types of things. And I think that's good. That's a good idea. You think that'd be common sense and people would stay home, but I think it's just one more check at the door before you let them in. And so if they have that capability, we certainly, we understand that some of the tools, the gloves, the masks, and some of that are in short supply, and people are trying to source those, and that becomes a barrier. But as long as they're doing the right thing and they're trying to implement those things, we're very encouraging of that.
What about in the workplaces? Those ones where maybe the public isn't coming and going, but a number of employees might be. As you have been doing some of these site visits and having conversations, are there some common things that you feel like you need to keep reminding employers that might be good to address here?
Yeah, it is more difficult. In some of like the more dense workplaces, like call centers, even like city center, a lot of that begins with allowing them to work from home, to be distanced. But we talk a lot about one of the things you always look at is bathrooms. You're looking at break rooms. Are you allowing? One business we talked to, it was as simple as they didn't think about it till the first day, but they had to now stagger their shifts of how people checked out for the day, because otherwise it'd come 5 o'clock, everybody go to the time clock, they'd be all standing there. Well, now they had realized, they had to kind of let groups go designated, and just those types of things. And to your point, sometimes you don't realize that until it happens. You go, oh, I didn't think that was going to happen. Or I didn't think about that. And they just have to implement a policy and figure out a way to keep people in shifts, further apart, smaller groups, that type of thing.
Right. We just get used to doing things a certain way. And you try to think of everything, but it's not until you get real people in the door that some of these things are probably going to present themselves.
Definitely a work in progress.
Yep, for sure. If employees have concerns, or if customers begin visiting some establishments and just feel like maybe there could be a better job done here as far as following some of those guidelines go, is this the kind of thing that you want to hear about as part of the SOAR team?
Yes, definitely. So the helpline center is our front door for us. That's how people can access us. They can call 24/7. Whether it's a business that wants some assistance or has some questions, or it's an employee or a customer, that's the place they should go. It would come over to the SOAR team and we look into that. I know a lot of them right now are going to the mayor's office, and he and his staff are shuttling them over to us. But if they would go through 211, they would come to us as well. So it depends. If there's a reported case, obviously that goes to the State Department of Health and they do their contact tracing and doing all that. But if it's just somebody that has a concern, a lot of times we can answer that question, or if it's a complaint, we certainly will go take a look at it.
Okay. As you're doing some of those, when people are concerned, are there some things that you're coming up with that maybe are easy fixes that we might be able to communicate to others to save you guys some time here down the road and make the public or the staff feel a little more safe?
Right. So this will be a whole new generation, but to date, a lot of the calls we get is people will drive by and they'll see all these cars in the parking lot. And they'll go, oh my gosh, there's got to be too many people in there, especially when we had the 10 and under. Mm-hmm. And I know I went to a restaurant a couple weeks ago and I pulled in the parking lot to get takeout. I thought, oh my gosh, there's a lot of cars here. But once I got in the restaurant, well, that was their staff, because they were really busy with takeout, and there were probably 4 or 5 of us in there. Everything was distanced. They had things set up well. So sometimes what looks like on the outside isn't the way it is on the inside. So that was a lot of our initial complaints, a lot of our initial inquiries, and we found just about all of them to be in compliance. Now going forward, this whole 6-foot thing is going to be kind of a lot of that's going to be how people feel about it. And, what you think is 6 foot and what I think is 6 foot, what I'm comfortable with. I'm sure we'll be getting a lot of inquiries. We don't think this restaurant's doing that, and we'll get out there and everything will be fine. But maybe at that moment, somebody did move a table and they shouldn't have, and staff hadn't gotten over there yet to tell them to move back. I mean, so people have to be somewhat patient and use common sense when they're looking at these things too. And as the mayor said, if a customer goes into a restaurant and they don't think it's set up the way it should be, or they don't feel safe, they don't have to go there. They shouldn't. They should go, they should approach within their own comfort level.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I would say, there's nothing wrong with speaking up, right? I mean, if this is your favorite restaurant and you want to go there and you just don't feel safe yet, tell them. They don't want to lose your business, okay? Would be my guess. I mean, if you do it in a positive, proactive way because you want to give them business, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And again, I think it's trying not to get too emotionally charged around this stuff, right? And just be understanding, and we all need to try our best. As we look forward here, are there other classes of businesses where you think you guys are going to have to begin working with them that might even be on a broader scale, or even events? I was frankly a bit surprised that I do continue to hear about some pretty good sized events that might be continuing to happen. Is that the kind of thing where they can maybe reach out ahead of time, or even the day before once they're set up, and have the SOAR team review and maybe give some guidance?
Absolutely. And we've actually received some inquiries about that. We're thinking about doing something in our parking lot. Can we do that? Well, yes, you can. And there's a way to set up the area and figure out what an occupancy load is based on what you're going to be doing. Is it watching a concert where you have tables and chairs? All those things make a difference. And those are the things we can help with. If they get to us ahead of time, we're glad to talk to them about that. The larger entertainment venues, as those are opening back up, that's going to be a lot of work there, trying to work with them, being creative, how they can do that, how they can distance groups, and how they can do it in a manner where they fill enough seats to make the event profitable. And that, that'll be its own challenge too.
So I would tell businesses too, the good news here, based on what I've seen already here the past weekend and what I'm hearing, is that there are a lot of people who are really looking forward to getting out of the house, to going to your business, to supporting you, maybe even to going to your event. So those are all good things. I mean, I think people are going to be there, but you don't want to have a problem during the event. Right? And you certainly don't want to have after the event because best practices weren't followed. So,
that's a great point, Jody. The worst thing that can happen is people go out and they totally ignore distancing. They totally ignore all the guidance and the cautions, and they just kind of go back to normal behavior. And all of a sudden it creates a spike. And then it creates a problem downstream. And you hit it right on the head. People have to be personally responsible, continue to be responsible for the behavior in this new environment. And with these new restrictions being loosened a little bit, doesn't mean your responsibility has been being loosened at all. Personally,
you guys, you got a big job and a varied one, a difficult job, but I thank you for what you're doing and your team. Before we go, I do want to try to, again, in the name of normalcy, maybe talk a little bit about what you and I would typically be talking about.
Sure.
We were visiting this time of year, which is development and building activity citywide. What is your sense from where you sit? Jeff Eckhoff, if you're just joining us, leads the city's Department of Planning and Development Services, so has a front row seat to new business activity, to expansions. What have you been experiencing in the last month or two, and what are you hearing about for ahead?
So it was just, it's just a couple months ago. It was such a normal year. Things were off to a fast start. We had some big projects that were in the queue, some things that were looking really good. And the thing that's been most interesting during this last month and a half or so is that the amount of activity as far as building permits, inspection requests, calls has remained very high. But it's really been primarily housing and a lot of single family housing and some apartments. Interest rates are low on mortgages. Those that are, in secure jobs that want to move ahead, it's a good time to do that. And so we've been very, very busy with that. And the number of building permits that we issued last month was just right on par with the last couple of years. But as you saw, I'm sure last week when the numbers came out, the valuation was down quite a bit. And there's just some larger projects that are kind of on hold. I think everybody's kind of trying to get things figured out. We've not heard of any large projects that have been canceled, but there's some saying, hey, we're just taking a pause here. Our bankers reworking our numbers. Everybody's kind of cautious. Banks have been incredibly busy with the PPP program. So getting time in, as you know, banks are appointment only. So that whole process, all that has received all that extra pressure on that, and friction causes some of that slowdown. And so people are being cautious. Again, we're not hearing that people are stopping projects. They're hitting the pause button for a month or two, depending on how long this goes. But that's the big difference right now is we haven't seen the amount of commercial permits come in, especially with the weather's been so nice this year. We typically would have had some of those projects started by now. There's still some going on. Jeff Surslick and Rail Yard Flats is having their groundbreaking tomorrow. A great project. We're very excited and thankful that he's moving forward. And so we'll see what happens down the road. But that's kind of the overlook right now.
Absolutely. Well, you led right into to my little promotional plug here, which is that, yes, if you are watching, we're doing Jeff Eckhoff's interview here on Monday, May 4th, and we are going to be bringing you that live virtual groundbreaking over at Rail Yard Flats. That's tomorrow, May 5th at 3 p.m. So a great one for downtown, some good needed momentum, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be there. We're going to be there. So
yes,
looking forward to that. Anything else that you'd like to share before I let you go, Jeff?
No, the only thing I would say, Jody, is really a shout out to the businesses and the people of Sioux Falls for their willingness to comply, to work hard together to make this thing work for everybody. We're incredibly excited to have these businesses come back online and to be there for them, and ask people that you go out and you support these businesses. You do it in a responsible way like you've been doing, but they really need your support now more than ever. The weather's great. Let's get out and support the city.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Good luck. Thanks for all you do. And we definitely will be in touch with you and your team going forward.
All right. Thank you, Jody. Thanks for you do too. Appreciate it. Bye now.